Well, folks, the Pope has officially chimed in on Afghanistan. Actually, he's been making a lot of comments about Afghanistan, but I want to remind you of the fact that it's becoming more and more and more obvious that the Pope serves as a great example of what the false prophet might look like during the time that the final Antichrist is raised up and seeks to do the evil in which he is going to do. This Pope has been absolutely unbelievable. He has become a bit of a pantheist, where he ends up saying, let's worship the whole earth. He is very clearly doing the things opposite of that which the scriptures are teaching, and he's beginning to make a name for himself with the globalists, the elitists, and the ruling class. He continues to be this way, ladies and gentlemen, and it's unbelievable some of the comments that he continues to make. Now, as I said, he's chiming in on Afghanistan, and his statement is really simple. He basically says this. I'm going to read this to you, okay? I'm going to read his quote. He says, I join in the unanimous concern for the situation in Afghanistan. He goes on to say, I ask all of you to pray with me to the God of peace. So good so far, right? So that the clamor of weapons might cease and solutions can be found at the table of dialogue. There it is, ladies and gentlemen, at the table of dialogue. I don't even know what to say about that. He goes on to say this. Let me finish the quote. He says, the battered population of that country, men, women, elderly, and children, could return to their own homes and live in peace and security in total mutual respect. He is saying that it is possible to basically have a dialogue with the Islamic leaders, yes, the ones who believe in Sharia law, in order to be able to bring peace all around the world. Now, we know that that's impossible. We know that with Islam, that is definitely not possible. Remember, this guy has sat down and has spoken to Muslim leaders, and they haven't listened to him one bit, not one bit, because the way they operate is completely different from what the Pope is actually asking happen or actually demanding happens. Let me tell you what the Pope is doing here, folks. It looks like he's simply trying to say, let's all put our firearms down. Let's not use any weapons anymore. Let's not fight. Let's not do any of these things. And that sounds great. I think that's great to take on the attitude of not doing any of that stuff. Believe me, I really, truly agree with the idea that we should walk away from those things. But the reality of the world that we live in is that you simply can't. But that's not why he's saying it. He's not saying it so that everybody will stop using their firearms and stop doing anything. He continues to walk towards the mechanism of the globalist movement, the idea that there's only an elite class that should be in charge, that rules everything, because he is making the way for the one world government to take place. He has always been this way. Listen, this Pope has been by far the most blatant in his representations concerning the worldly ideals and philosophies, particularly the ones represented by the globalists. And that's what we're seeing, folks. I want you to see right through this. Folks, in the real world, the words of the Pope are literally self-refuting. His own so-called dialogue that he has had with Muslim leaders has not prevented anybody from being beat up, persecuted, killed, any of those things. It's actually really sad. When you begin to look at all of the things that he's tried to do with many of these leaders, there's been nothing that has been beneficial. As a matter of fact, all it's done is prepare the way for globalism. Even Marxism in some cases. Folks, we've got to open our eyes. And again, this is more evidence of the fact that Jesus Christ is coming back soon. Spend some time. Look at what we're dealing with here. Folks, this is unbelievable. The reality of it is, Joe Biden should have never ordered the withdrawal of our troops the way he did. There should have been a mechanism left in place to create the kind of order that should have been there. And instead, what we have, and it's very sad to say this, but what we now have is this. And by the way, for the record, just so that you know, that little tiny area that's orange is no longer orange. It's all under Taliban control. And that is because of the incompetence and the foolishness of a very diverse cabinet that has no idea what they're doing. Well done on the diversity, Joe Biden, but you lose on the competence. And that's the problem we're having. And by the way, folks, look, the prophetic implications of this are quite remarkable because we know what we know, and what we know is very simple. And don't forget this. Jesus is coming back soon. The United States of America is losing its superpower status in front of our eyes. And we know that per Ezekiel 38 and 39, we're not going to see any major superpowers in the world, which tells us things are happening, and they're happening quickly. Open up your eyes. Pay attention. Jesus is coming soon. Stand for righteousness like you've never stood for it before. Tell people about what's really going on, and keep your mind and your heart open to what you know is about to happen based on what the scriptures teach. It's very important, guys, because as Christians, we are called by God to take a stand concerning these things. God bless you.